Hey, Mitchell.
Hey, Jamie, how are you?
I'm doing well. Welcome to episode 30 of Positively Board Gaming. I'm excited to be here to chat with you about some unknown topics about, whatever comes up today. I'm just excited to be here. Good to see you.
I love that as well. It's good to see you too. It's very, on the day we turn 30, my daughter turns 20. So it's like a big, and as we talk about, it's like a lot of things to celebrate that. And you know what? It's fun to have things to celebrate. I think sometimes we
Yeah.
get so caught up in, it's funny. It's like, everyone talks about like, online ratings, go to
Mhm.
Amazon, go to Yelp, go to anything, and you'll see like ratings and rankings. And I've always said human nature dictates that more times than not, it's the people that are usually dissatisfied or upset about something that are more likely to write or say, "Oh, don't go to
Yeah.
this place or don't get this thing. I had a terrible experience." So that's why it's nice to share the joyous stuff, which is what
Yeah.
we great segue, which is what we do on this show every week. We talk about the joy this hobby gives us. For you, it's also a business, but it
That's right.
also, luckily for you, which means I guess you never work a day in your life since you love what you do. You love what you do, so it also fills you with joy, not only as a creator, but as someone who also plays these games. So yes, I'm happy to be here, Jamie.
Well, wonderful. Well, do you have anything? So you're celebrating your daughter's 20th birthday today
Today
as
she
we
turns
record?
20. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, listen, I guess this would fall under my treats of the day.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
I have many things. I'll just rattle them off. My daughter turns 20 today. We just went to Disneyland. I sent you that picture from
Uh-huh.
Galaxy's Edge, right?
Yeah.
We were there for 12 hours, walked 20,000 steps. It was crazy. It was great.
Wow.
My brother and his girlfriend, Nicole, are no longer. They're now engaged. Nicole and Lee are engaged. So that just happened yesterday. I mean, I'm so blessed. There's so many wonderful things that are treats today for me. What about you? What kind of treats do you have going on today?
Well, congratulations to all those. The engagement
Thank
is
you.
is such wonderful news. Your daughter's 20th birthday. That's a big birthday. Yeah, those are wonderful treats of the day to share. Mine is much less consequential. Like, I guess I have two quick ones. I have
Yeah.
Design Day, the Stonemaier Games Design Day coming
Wow.
this weekend. I think it's the 10th or 11th time that we've done it. I'll talk about it next week probably,
Okay.
but it's a prototyping day that is, it's like, a lot of what I do here is I try to build community. And this is one of the rare occasions where it is a Stonemaier event with about 100 people there where I can really like feel that community in the space. And then the last consequential one is that I'm excited that Survivor is back. I love the show Survivor. I think I've talked about it here a little bit, and
Guilty
I'm just
pleasure.
enjoying that show.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
That's fantastic. I love that. I sometimes you just well, if it's a show that you really love and that you're tracking, you're like chomping a bit, to get to that episode or to get to that, first episode. Okay, it's back. Yay.
yeah,
Sometimes I'm ashamed to say, although it works out well for me in the end, I'll forget about the premiere date of something.
yeah.
And, we've gotten so used to a lot of the, pay TV and streaming channels dropping either a full season or multiple seasons that we're so used to getting multiple seasons at once or multiple episodes, sorry, at once, that we forget what it's like to go back to the Stone Age of having to wait every week for your show, which for a lot of our
Right.
shows, Survivor, there are a lot of them are like that.
Mhm.
So I just forgotten that Tulsa Kings, which is a show that I started watching that I'm really enjoying, it came back on a few weeks ago. And I was like, what? So, which made me actually happy. I didn't feel bad. I was joyous that now I'll probably have 3 episodes waiting for you that I can just binge on before, because sometimes a new
Yeah,
show will come back, I'll watch one episode and go, "Ooh, that was a tease. I want another 20 right now." Because we've
yeah,
really
yeah.
gotten spoiled by the way the TV, excuse me, has evolved to getting a full season or getting 5 episodes that it's crazy. So I'm so happy that your show is back. I'm happy that I get to go back and watch a show that I didn't realize was back so quickly. And there we go. Welcome to Positively Board Gaming. We talk about positively everything.
Yeah.
Um,
I do have a question for you, Mitchell, before I forget, if you
yes,
don't mind.
yes.
So,
No, no, go
given
for it.
your knowledge of show business, you might understand this.
Yeah.
So, our podcast, we record. I'm in St. Louis. You're in California. We're recording
Yes.
this remotely. We are wearing headphones so we can hear each other.
Correct.
I've noticed that there are a lot of podcasts now where the two people are in the same room and they each have their own mic and they're talking to each other. So it's as
Right.
if we were recording this, but you were in the room next to me, or
Yeah,
vice
yeah.
versa. But I've noticed that in those clips, when you can see people doing that, they are also wearing headphones.
Yes.
Why do they do that? Because can't they hear each other right there in the
Oh, they
room?
can hear each other, but you can't
Yeah.
hear as well, and it's clearly, I'm
Okay.
getting very emotional. I have something going on in my throat today. Um, you can't without the headphones, you're not hearing what our audience hears. You will
Okay.
hear the ambient room tone. I'll hear you speaking in a room, which in a lot
Yeah.
of cases, like my home studio here, has wall panels that deaden the sound. So you will hear each other, but you will not hear each other in an isolated way, the way you will be heard. So having these, you can hear yourself, you can hear your partner or your partners, whoever you're recording with, in a more traditional, in a more true way to how you are going to be heard out there. So for me, I like
Okay.
to hear how we are sounding to everyone. And
Sure.
let's not kid ourselves. I love the sound of my own voice. So let's go with that a little bit. So yeah, more than anything, it just sort of isolates you in a way that is more specific to how you will sound, how the final show is going to sound. So I think that's it. It just gets out the outside noise. And a lot of times, what people don't realize is the microphone does not pick up. Sometimes it'll pick up more than you think. Sometimes it'll pick up less than you think. So being able to monitor that with a good set of headphones and a good microphone will give you a better idea of what your show is actually sounding like. So there you go.
That's fascinating. That's good to
You've
know.
heard it here on Positively Board again.
Yeah. Before we jump into our topics,
Yeah.
anything else that's been on your mind that you wanted to bring up today?
Wow. Yeah, today's going to be something a little different. Something that I've kind of wanted to do, but I haven't gotten the chance to do. This is my preamble for my subject.
Okay.
And then I'm kind of anxious to actually hear yours first. But my preamble is because I play a lot with my family in New York. My soon-to-be new sister-in-law, so excited. I don't get to play as many games as I'd like when I'd like to play them, which is why I've explored more solo stuff just out of need, out of necessity. My family is playing more games, but some of the not heavy, but heavier than maybe the games that I play with them. I'm easing them into everything because they're not gamers like my other friends are.
Yeah.
So it was going to be today. It didn't work out because of Lee's darn proposal. We're supposed to play another game yesterday, but look what happened. Selfish Lee and Nicole. It would have been 4 new games in like a 5-day period, but instead it was like 3 new games in a 4-day period.
Okay.
So for me getting to play 3 new games, and I was like, I'm going to talk about new games on this episode, which is really wonderful because we talk about things, tangentially. Sometimes things that are in the industry, but not necessarily about a game, or things that we're thinking about that are board game. Yes, the subject is board game related, but it isn't necessarily about a particular game. So I was really excited to sort of talk about my experience, not like here's my review but my experience playing these games, one of which I think you're going to be familiar with. But I'm really excited. I got to play 3 new games in the past few days. Doesn't happen very often unless I have, like Jack and Eric, I'm like, we're going to do new stuff today, and it's going to be many of them. And so I'm really excited. It was something for me that I've kind of wanted to do, but because I don't play as often as you do, I don't get to sort of engage in those conversations. Like sometimes like, oh yeah, I played that a while back. Yeah, 3 new games this week. That's crazy, Jamey. Crazy for me.
Well, this is going to be an interesting podcast because you're going with 3 new games.
Yeah.
I chose, because this is episode 30, I chose the oldest modern games in my collection that are still in my collection as my topic today. So we have brand new
awesome.
and older, like around like 2012-ish. So if you're up for it, why don't we go back and forth today? Why don't we go old, new, or new, old?
Sure. Let's start,
Yeah.
Since you're about 15, 20 years older than I am. Damn, the giggle gave it away. I know he's much younger. He looks so good. Why don't you start this off? I love this idea. You start us off. So I put you on the spot. I love this. You start.
I guess the brief preamble for mine is that because of Design Day, I give away a lot of my collection of games at Design Day. If I haven't played a game in the last year, or I don't think I'll play it in the future. I think we talked about culling on the podcast in the past.
Right.
So I did a big cull over the weekend. I'm giving away around 50 games.
Oh, wow.
And so it was fun after that to go back and look at the shelf and be like, oh, these are the games that I've either played in the last year or I know I'm going to play in the future, even though they have been on my shelf for a long time, because these are all games that were released before 2014.
Okay.
I have 5 games here. The first one is Avalon, the Resistance. Have you played any versions of the Resistance?
Is there like a small card-based version of it? Is there a smaller version of it that I'm thinking of? Or is that something that might be Coup? That's a Coup. I knew exactly. A similar sort of cover as well. I don't think I've played Avalon. Okay.
I think Coup and the Resistance came out at almost the exact same time. So they're similar. They're often associated with one another. But this is a fairly large group game where you have hidden roles, hidden teams.
Oh, all right.
It's a game that I can't play for long periods of time because I actively start distrusting my friends and they start distrusting me because It's one of those games where you can't reveal who you are, or
Right.
you'll instantly lose.
And you feel bad. Yeah.
And you feel bad. Yeah, but it is one that I think works so well at larger groups, and is one of those games where you play so quickly that I often find myself will play 1 or 2 times in a row. And so I don't even know if I have played it in the last year, but I know it has come to the table often enough that it is likely to hit the table again in the future.
I got
So that's
that.
my first older game pick, Avalon.
And a good one. Now I kind of want to try that, especially because I got you knew exactly. I was going to say coup. You knew that as soon as I said the small card-based game, and I love playing coup, so I will definitely try Avalon. That's a good one, and I'm always looking for stuff that I can play with larger groups too.
Yeah.
My first new game that I'm going to talk about is one that you have talked about, and you inspired me to purchase, even though poker is not one of my true loves in terms of card games.
Yeah.
That game is called The Gang, and Jamey, you know what you're talking about. That is quite a good game.
I'm glad you like it.
It's
Yeah.
quite easy to get obsessed with. And for those of you who don't know or didn't listen, and by the way, if you've never listened before, welcome. We love having you here. The coup, it's the easiest pitch line in the coup, the gang. This is what happens. But Avalon is a card based. The Gang, it's the easiest pitch in like probably all of board gamedom. It's cooperative poker. It's cooperative poker, and it's really clever. It plays up to 6 people, I believe, and you have these little tokens that are more like bidding tokens, letting your unlike poker, where the idea is to bluff your way to success if you don't have a great hand, which most of the time people don't. In this game, the idea is communicating honestly, not bluffing, because you want to, without talking to each other and letting each other know what you have, through this bidding system, I have the first best hand, I have the third best hand, my hand stinks, it's a 6th best. By these bidding tokens that you can pick up and redistribute, you have to let people know where you think your hand lies among the group. And the idea is to get the proper rating, like I have the best hand, second best hand, third best hand, and then you get a reward for that. And you have to win 3 times in order to win the game. But it's not just that, Jamey. It also has these other things that add complexity to it. Things that you can or can't do, that you can or can't reveal. The subtle communication among people at the table as to, and sometimes again, the expression and the length of time it takes you to grab, I have the best hand, I have the second best hand. The expression on your face, do you find this too? And how quickly you grab a token will send as much of a message as the number on your token of where you think your hand ranks. If I meekly grab the third, number 3, okay, I'll take it. I'm not confident about it. And as the round goes on and as the river develops a little bit, you'll be like, oh, and then you're grabbing for that first place token. And I got Jack gave me a hard time at the table because I took the first token. I had a full house, and I took that first token so quickly, and I grabbed it right from everyone. And our friend Eric took it from me, and I was like, huh. And I was like, and I was trying to look, and you're looking again. If you've never played poker, you're looking. You have communal information. You have a river of cards that everyone shares, and you have 2 in your hand that no one knows. So I know what these cards are that are out here. I don't know what he's holding in his hand, but I can't imagine that it's better than what I'm holding. So I'm like, dude, I'm sorry. And I grabbed that first token strongly. I grabbed that number 1 token back and I put it in front of me. I'm like, leave it alone. Don't touch it. It's mine. And he waits a few minutes, and I made it very clear, I'm going to win this for us. And he put his hand back and he just slid it back to himself. Now, I'd already made a grand gesture of don't mess with this token, it's mine, and went and took it back forcefully. Well, the hand was revealed. I did have the best hand. He didn't. So Jack turns to me and goes, why didn't you take it back? I was like, I did everything but punch Eric in the face to get this token, and you're blaming me? What about the guy who took it from me? Why don't you shame him with his hand? So we were laughing about it, but it sparks these conversations. It was all good natured. We had the best time. And, Eric and I, in all fairness, are not poker players. Lee and Jack are. Jack has gone to the World Series and done events there. So, and, he's like serious, but it just goes to show you how good a game it is when it equally satisfies the people that don't know the game as well and the people that are hardcore poker players. If you're worried about bringing it to the table, people, they're not really, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. It's a great, great, wonderful game. And we all had a really good time, and it scaled really nicely. We had a great time, and we won a lot. We did really well. We started bumping up to intermediate levels. It was amazing. So The Gang, if you're looking for a cooperative game that'll bring a lot of fun things to the table, even if you've never played poker. Great communication through non-communication. It's really clever. It scales well, and I think it's very, very replayable because of those different things different rule sets that you can add. We didn't even get to the higher rule sets where it's punishing, really punishing. So, Jamey, thank you for that recommendation. We loved it.
I'm so glad you enjoyed it, and I'm glad you are highlighting it for people who haven't played poker. I would almost say that having played poker, it can even be a disadvantage because
It's sometimes
normally with I played a fair amount of poker, and I forgot when playing the gang that you don't play a lot of hands in poker. Like you are folding a lot if you are trying to play poker well, because you don't get good hands. You don't play those cards. And so a good hand, like if you had a full house, that's an amazing hand in this game. If you have a pair, that is a pretty good hand in the gang. And I think people who know poker undervalue that. They're like, oh, I just have a pair. That I probably have the worst hand. But no, that's probably the best hand oftentimes. Yeah, I'm glad.
And you would know this as a poker player. I had the one thing that I did have, and I'm going to let you move on from this because we have lots to talk about. The one thing that was really tricky is how to communicate a strong, like if you have like an ace queen or if you have an ace jack to start,
right?
Versus like, if that communication for, okay, I have high nothing versus I have a pair of threes. That's where it became tricky to communicate because people were hesitant. Getting a pair is not that difficult, in terms of like people have two hidden cards and there are 5 cards that they could have a pair. A lot of people can have a pair. So how to communicate whether you have high nothing versus that low pair, that became and again, the subtlety of communication there really makes it fun and interesting. And how you hesitate to take that. The hesitation sort of speaks more than the number that you say. Oh, it's wonderful. I can go on forever. Jamey, the second game, the second older game that you have that we are going to talk about.
Well, I'll relate it a little bit to this game, to the one that you just talked about, the gang.
Sure.
This is Hanabi. Have you played Hanabi?
I have not, but you've talked about this. Makes me want to.
Yeah, this is a cooperative game that also involves limited communication and limited information. It's a game, and the first game that I'm aware of, where you cannot see your own hand of cards. You can see everyone else's hand of cards, and they can see yours, but you cannot see your own hand. And so you are learning about your hand based on other players. You could ask them questions about your hand, very limited set of questions. And the goal of the game is to play cards in a very specific order. I believe it's from low to high. So you're trying to find out if you have a 1 in your hand at first, so that you can find out where that 1 is and then play it. And then other players are then trying to find out where the 2 of that color is to play on top of that card, and so on. It's one of those games that is very simple and streamlined, but just the idea that you cannot see your own hand of cards in, similar to the gang, a cooperative game, is a wonderful lasting puzzle. And still, it's kind of a trick. It's almost a magic trick to show people, look at this game. We're going to work together on it, but you can't see your own information. But you have all this other information. You can see what everyone else has in their hand of cards.
That reminds me of that party game, like the headbands where you're wearing the card on your head and everyone can see, and you feel like an idiot because you don't know you're you're like, he doesn't know what he has there. So, but I love that. How many players does Hanabi play up to?
I'm thinking 4, but it might be 5. 2 to 5. 2 to 5.
Okay. This might. Hold on. These are not special effects. I am opening up my drawer, taking out my fancy red pen, and writing down Hanabi, because Jamey has not steered me, and really he's not steered me wrong yet. I'm not saying that because he's my pal. He's not steered me wrong with. I'm learning that we really do have similar taste in games. I know that I know I'm probably more into adventure stuff and the D&D, like dungeon crawly stuff more than you are. But every game that you've said you've liked, and I've played a bunch of them since you've recommended them, I was like, when is he going to be wrong?
Yeah.
When am I going to say, Jamey, you're ridiculous, sir? No, but and I like that Hanabi sort of has a crossover with the gang, with that communication and trying to piece the order together. That's very funny. That's perfect.
Exactly. Yeah. So what about you? Another new game on your list?
Another new game. We've talked about Seven Wonders. We both enjoy Seven Wonders, and I know how well received Seven Wonders Duel was. You played Seven Wonders Duel. I have not played Seven Wonders Duel, and I heard about it, and I said, oh, it's got to be great. I know you liked it. All I hear is I never hear people say, oh, what a horrible game. No, I hear people say it's an amazing game. That's all I've ever heard. And if they said it was a horrible game, I would just go, don't say that. Just say you didn't respond to it. We're positively board gaming here, darn it. Don't say that. People worked hard on that game. So I never got a chance to play it. Well, of course, I'd say they did a reskinning, but it's a new game in that world, in the dual verse of
Duel for
Seven
Middle Earth.
Wonders.
Yeah.
Now you've played this.
Yeah. I
You've
love
played
this
this.
game.
Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle Earth. Let me tell you how much fun this was. I played this with my brother. Lee and I played this before Nicole got here. Because, two people, three. She would have felt left out if we played while she was here. I was really wondering, no pun intended, how they were going to pull off, and this goes more toward the Seven Wonders side than the Battle for Middle Earth, but I figured there'd be some tangential sort of, relationship between these games. One of the things that I love about this game is I loved having people on either side of me, and I loved being able to use some of their hand to power my engine, some of their resources to power my engine, pass them this. I don't want to pass them this. I don't want to give them this. How would that play when you don't have the luxury and the fun of having people on either side of you and having other people with that same dynamic? How is that going to play out? And yet somehow it does, and it does it with like a card stacking system. You have this pyramid of cards, and you're basically just alternating, taking cards from this pyramid and then revealing cards underneath. And you can't actually take a card unless it's fully revealed, meaning nothing is touching a side of it, because you're stacking it really like a pyramid. 4 cards, 3 cards, 2 cards, 1 card, and they're all touching the edges. And you can't pull a card from that stack unless it's totally untethered. Hasn't been.
Right.
This mechanism, super simple. I didn't know how it was going to work for me, and it worked so well. And the game ramps up so well, because I was thinking, you have these tiles, these landmark tiles, I guess they were, and if that's what they were called, and they're pretty powerful. And you were only able to get them by building your engine of different, resources. The cards have resources on them. In order to take the tile, you have to have enough resources to justify taking it. And I was like, I'll never get those because I don't have any of those things in my hand. And in the beginning of the game, these tiles came out that required multiple resources. Like, when is it going to happen? It's not going to happen until later round. It ramps up so well and so quickly. And how, placing the difference between playing troops on the board, and there's a board where you're placing troops. If you like the, not the fighting part of the game, but the military aspect, you're able to actually live it out now with actual troops and fortresses and the way they maneuver, and that you have to wait to actually be able to maneuver on the board, because the victory condition is if you have the board filled up with yours, it could be, there is so much going on that plays in harmony so well. I can't believe how smooth it was. That's what I would say, Jamie. I can't believe how smooth the experience is, when it could have been very janky in terms of, want to replicate the Seven Wonders feel, but it has to be 2-player and it has to work. The back and forth has to have a rhythm to it that gives the illusion of playing a bigger game with more people. What was your reaction when you first played it? Because I was sort of blown away that it was so smooth and how quickly it ramped up and how much fun it was immediately.
When I was coming to it, I've played Seven Wonders Duel quite a bit as well.
Okay, so you had context. Okay.
I was wondering, okay, how will this feel new and fresh? And it even does feel new and fresh from that game. With, I think, maybe one of the standout features that maybe you briefly said it, but the idea that there are 3 win conditions, and when you hit one of those conditions, the game instantly ends and the game is over. So there's this constant tension as you see one player pull ahead in a category. Do I, at that moment, do I try to pull back some of that power so they can't win, or do I keep going with the other category that I was focusing on so I can try to race them to get there first? That tension is fantastic in a 2-player game. It's hard to pull off in a multiplayer game, more than 2 players, but 2, it works. I mean, this game only plays 2, but it works so well in that format.
I couldn't believe it. And listen, I know how good the original Seven Wonders was, and I wish now I had played Seven Wonders Duel first, but in a way, this was a great starting point for me because I got to have the feel of that type of game, but in a theme that I already loved. I already loved Seven Wonders as well, but this was really like the perfect storm. It played so well, and it's hard. I don't know. I don't play a lot of 2-player games unless, my brother's in town and, where it's like, hey, we're going to knock off 5 games. Let's do this. And I loved it. Even though there are take that elements, it's full of take that elements because it's a competitive 2-player game is like a lot of them are about take that, because, if you don't do that, if you don't find a way to minimize the progress of your opponent, you'll find yourself behind. And even so, he was behind. My brother was ahead most of the game. And then all of a sudden I turned the map around with a couple of cards. I got one ongoing benefit from, because if you have a couple of races, the races of Middle Earth, elves, men, and if you have a few different races or 3 of the same or 2 different ones, I thought it was the 3 different ones or whatever it was. You can actually get these special tokens. And my token ability was the ability to put down, when I took a tile, I didn't have to pay a fortress cost for it.
Right.
So I was able to build this engine at a lower cost, which ended up being the thing that helped me win. And I ended up coming back from a board that was full of my brother's tokens to mine just like little monsters on there. We're here. So the engine built, and the engine built so smooth. Oh, I love this game. Yeah. Okay. Enough of me going on about that. So that's Lord of the Rings: Duel for Middle Earth. Fantastic game. Jamie and I both recommend it highly.
We do.
What's your third game?
My third game is so if you played, I'll name the game, then I'm going to show it to you. Have you played Sushi Go? It's a
I've been
drafting game.
Yes, and I love Sushi Roll as well. But yes,
yeah, we talked about Sushi Roll,
Yes.
I think, last week.
Yes.
So Sushi Go predated Sushi Roll. It is a drafting game that is almost. It came after Seven Wonders Duel, but it is somewhat similar to Seven Wonders Duel, but really streamlined down to just set collection with these cute little sushi tokens. And it is one of the games in my collection that I'll actually show it here, because those of you who are picturing Sushi Roll probably aren't picturing this version. This is the very original Indiegogo crowdfunded version of the game. It has a rubber band on it, but this is like the old tiny little box version, and it's one of those where I love the game. It's so simple and easy to break out and pull and play. It's simpler, I think, than to pull out the current version of Sushi Go, which has a bunch of different combinations. It has more replayability, but this one can fit in my pocket. I can easily bring this one anywhere. And it just has, I have a little bit of pride because I was like, okay, this designer, Phil Walker Harding, is a major designer now. This is a major best-selling game. And I was there at the beginning when they sold like 500 copies or however many were part of that Kickstarter campaign. So it has that. I know you back a lot of things on crowdfunding. There is a little bit of sense of pride, I think, when one of those games really takes off, because you were part of it. I think that's really cool.
I think that's super. And I love that size box because I think I have.
Oh, yeah, it's tiny.
Oh, yeah. And I think I have a couple of copies of Sushi Go, including so there's a party version of it.
Yeah.
Then there's like a deluxeified party version of it. So, you know me, I don't mind if the boxes get a little bigger and they have more chunky things that I can hold and go, woohoo, things. So, because I love the deluxeified stuff. But it's so great that the experience at the end of the day boils down to the package that you have.
Yeah.
To that pocketable package. And it's like this great drafting food creation, food engine building game. And it's so much fun. And again, that's one that we talked about. Was it last episode or 2 episodes ago where I talked about using theme to bring in people that like certain things into the hobby? We talked about, for foodies, I think we talked about Sushi Roll and Sushi Go. But that is great. And I feel that too, Jamie. Like when you're in on something, it's like, oh yeah, I had that game before. It's popular. I had the first version and the first printing of it. It's quite lovely. No, you can't touch it, and please don't. Do not touch my first print game. It's valuable to me, emotionally and physically. That's awesome. That is really cool.
So, what is your last new to you game that you got to the table recently?
I have to look it up. Orange Juice Storming. Origin Story. I knew it wasn't about people like going to a castle with a pulpy fruit. Jamie has created a new game with
co-designed.
That's why I had to put Pete in there. Called Origin Story. It is something. I feel silly, like I'm going on about my friend's co-creation, but still creation. This game, this trick-taking game, first of all, trick-taking games are kind of genius to begin with because, again, you have the basis for trick-taking games. If you go back, I mean, we've all played, if you haven't played a current trick-taking, even if you played Hearts, Spades, Bridge, there are so many different games out there that use a trick-taking mechanism that, are just wonderful. And they teach people the trick-taking dynamic, which is basically, uses traditional cards for the most part. And someone leads a card with a suit, and the highest card in that suit takes that trick. Unless you don't have that, and you can put a trump card down. In that case, the highest trump card will take that. So, I mean, the concept is very familiar. And so the accessibility is right there. But to combine this with a hero engine building or villain engine building game is just, it flows so nicely. And I love the fact that there are multiple stages to this. It's
Mhm.
not just, you're not just going to take the tricks. No, I win. There are different rounds, and the rounds add a little something different. And every time you're adding a new card to your engine, that changes. And I discovered something really interesting, that when you're building your engine in this game to help, make your hero earn more victory points, because it's all about earning victory points every round. And you earn victory points by getting tricks if you decide that you want to play a hero for that round, or by getting no tricks if you decide to be a villain for that round. But then your cards have this symbiotic relationship with your character, and because each character has something you can do with these little stamina tokens that you get, which you get more of during the game, and you can place those tokens at the beginning of the round to decide, okay, here's how I want my engine to function this game. And that touch is really brilliant because it really facilitates the whole hero villain dynamic, which is each round you can decide what you want to be depending on what cards you're dealt. Like, oh, I have a lot of low number cards here.
Yeah.
I better go for being a villain. Well, what cards have I added to my little tableau here? Because each round, again, you get that one card that lets you, add a special ability. Okay, what cards do I have here that synergize with, let's say, being a hero, or being a villain? And if you can't, you're almost forced to not go too all in on one side, because your hands will change every round and dictate you
Right.
go the other way. So sort of building an engine that will either complement both sides or accommodate, okay, if I go one way or the other, I'm not going to be punished because I only have one card to choose from now on my tableau here. I can only power one card. I'm only going to get a couple of victory points. It's just the way that you think in advance and how you want to build this engine, and then build that hand. Sometimes you're building a hand around the engine. Sometimes you're trying to build an engine around hoping you get a certain. It's so much fun. And this is one of those games, Jamey. I'm glad that you're smiling because it brought us so much joy. In fact, Lee and Nicole are sitting out there while we're recording, and we're going to jump back in as soon as we're done. I'm not joking
Oh, that's
here.
awesome.
We're going to jump back in as soon as we're done, just because there's so many different ways to go. And you don't get bored. You just I want to play another. I want to play another. You were talking about that game. I mean, it's like you just want to jump right back in. And to me, that's the metric of, a great game, where you immediately want to jump back in, create that hero. And at the very end, you have this one card that you play at the end. You choose from two of them at the beginning. You have two cards to choose from, which is going to be your end game story, the hero that you created. And
Oh,
what
you
that
get to make
does,
that decision at the end.
you what?
Oh, you get the two cards at the beginning, but you
Oh,
don't
yes.
make it into round 5. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Absolutely,
Okay, good,
absolutely.
good.
But you look at them. You can look at them at the
You look
beginning,
at them. Yeah,
and
totally.
then, which is
Yeah.
very interesting. So I messed up.
Mhm.
And for some reason I didn't look at mine. I didn't look at the choice of the two cards, which is your end game story, which at the end will give you a lot of points. If
Right.
mine that I ended up picking, I got so lucky, Jamey. Mine was, if you have four different, if your story cards have like four different categories, was I think it was four different categories.
Yeah, there's 4 cards. So yeah, for each for each different one, you get
For each
2 extra points, I think.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I happened to have on my tableau four different ones. And I was like, oh
Nice.
my God, I was so lucky, because again, I should have seen at the beginning, and then I could have built that, a purpose
Right.
built sort of thing. And you look at that, go, wow, these cards are so powerful. They are, but all of them are equally powerful.
Yeah.
And there are subtle differences that encourage you to take that extra little, I'm going to take a chance here. I'm really
Yeah.
going to, again, I'm going to go for broke here and try and do this. And even if you don't maybe get that, you'll still get points, but maybe you'll get a few points less. Jamey, I lost by 2 points, and
Ooh.
every round, I never had a round where I had less than 6 victory points.
Oh, really? Oh, that's pretty
So
good.
I
That's
think
really good.
I
Yeah.
achieved my goals. This is like my first playthrough. I achieved everything every round. The one
Yeah.
time I was the villain, I got no cards, and I was able to synergize that with one of my hero cards of only getting up to 2. You still get. It was like crazy. I was like, I'm the synergy master. And then, of course, Jack, much like he did in Destinies by taking that horse from me, he's like, well, and I guess he got 11 points with his last card, and I
Oh.
got 8, and he pulled ahead of me to win by 2 points. And it was like, you know what? I was like, bravo. And it's one of those games. Again, my metric is, when a great game is a game that you don't care about losing because the ride was
Hmm.
so much fun. And
Yeah.
this is one of those games. I mean, do you feel similarly? I know it's hard because you're co-designer, obviously, but did
Yeah.
you have that similar ebb and flow of like, okay, how do I create this to, like, I want to create a tableau that can maximize multiple hands. So I'm
Right.
not like all tied in. I'm not all in on one type of hand. Did you find that balancing act was kind of fun? Like when you're playing the game, it's like managing those cards as you get them?
Yeah, I mean, I played it a lot recently, and I continue to very much enjoy it. But that was a fun design puzzle, and because originally I don't think we had the stamina tokens, which they are basically a way that you can't charge all of your abilities. You can't use all of your abilities each round. You choose some of them that matches that might work well for your hand of cards.
Right.
Originally they weren't there, and so players would have a tableau of cards, and they'd look at that tableau and be like, oh well, half of these cards don't work right now, so they'd feel like there was a sense of loss in terms of that. Once we added those stamina tokens, suddenly, because you were only charging some of them, you have a lot more control each round, a lot more agency, and you feel like you're getting, you feel like you're maximizing cards
Yes.
rather than not using cards. So that ended up, I think, working out for the design. Yeah.
It did. Although I have to tell you, I was shocked when the video you did on opening your closet of, not closet of opportunity. What did you, what was the
the cabinet of secrets?
cabinet of secret? You have a lot of names for a lot of little nooks and crannies in your home.
Yeah.
This is the box of no touchies. We no touchy this box, and that's the closet. So when you do, you know, you're going to have a box of no touchies, which sounds really creepy, but it's very funny. We don't talk about the box of no touchies. So when you were opening up that closet and you'd shown like an early version, and again, this was like from years ago, and I guess there was a version of the game that had not just dice, Jamey. They looked to be beautiful custom dice. I was like, you showed them, I was like, oh, pretty, precious, precious. And I was like, oh my God. And I was wondering, so at another time, we're gonna have to talk about, I'd love to know what role, again, no pun intended, what role they played. They were so pretty. I might have to sit with dice, but again, I can't think like the system works so well now. As much as I love pretty dice, I was like, it works so I can't imagine how it. So I'd love to hear at some point when you want to talk how they fit in and why you're like, nah, they're pretty and everything, but let's, you know, I think this works better. And that's going to be a tough decision too, especially because you know you're designing a game just for me, and I love pretty dice.
That was, we'll talk about that sometime. It was a completely different game, so it wasn't even like fitting dice into a trick-taking game. It was a completely different game, a lot more like role player.
Oh wow,
role player, yeah.
Oh, that's another conversation another time, but I can't wait to have it.
And I'm so glad you enjoyed it, and it's flattering that Lee and Nicole are gonna that they want to play it again with you, and that's what I was aiming for. I played a lot of trick-taking games, a lot of them that have a really interesting hook that hooks me in for maybe a couple games of that trick-taking game. I'm like, okay, that's cool. That's cool. Okay, I'll try a different trick-taking game. There are a few exceptions to that, but I really wanted to try to design one where, because of that engine building, that tableau building, and the event in the middle, and the choice at the end of your hero, that it feels like there are a lot of tricks to it, a lot of different hooks, depending on a card that you build around for any given game. So I think there's a lot of replayability in the game, and I hope other people feel the same way. Yeah.
Not only is there a lot of replayability, but this almost reeks to me of a platform, again, that you can iterate on endlessly if you wanted to, almost like a dice throne.
Yeah.
Where if you wanted to change the theme, and again, I'm not talking about a reskin, same game, but I mean, this is like not to give it too much work, but I have a couple of requests for a couple of things that I'd like to say. No, it is just great. And it's one of those games, and I love the form factor. It's a small box game with a really big box feel because of the experience, because of the engine building and the fact that it has that superhero theme on there. I'm actually going to take it with me to PAX Unplugged when I go.
Oh, cool.
Which is going to be, which is not that far away now. It's next month. So yeah, that's one of those games I think, you know, people haven't played it. Like, oh, you have to play this. I single-handedly want to be responsible for that game disappearing the first 2 hours of the show. It'll disappear, and it'll all be good to me, Jamey.
Well, thanks, Mitchell. I'm so glad it resonated with you. And we'll see. Yeah, as we're recording, I guess as you were listening to this, dear listener, it is a day after we've launched this game on our website. I sent one to Mitchell in advance because I knew he was having family visit and he might want to play it with them.
Thank you.
But yeah, I'm excited to see how people receive it.
Yeah, and I think we'd love to also. We'd love to hear about some older games that people have that if they want to talk about and, you know, mention in the YouTube comments, we'd love to hear that, as well as new games that you have played or new to you games that you have played. Because again, a lot of these games, you know, except for, you know, Origin Story, have been out. But I highly recommend all the games that we talked about, the Gang, Duel for Middle Earth, and Origin Story. You will have a blast, just like we do. Jamey, it was really, it goes by so fast, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
This show goes by way too fast. We're gonna have to make it like a 2-hour show and just commit our lives to give up everything for this show. But it goes by fast. But when you're enjoying yourself, it always goes by quickly.
Yeah,
So thank you for celebrating our 30th episode together.
absolutely.
That's
Yeah.
it's a milestone of sorts. So thank you, and I'll come back next week for another one if you will.
Yeah, I'll think about I'll see if I can fit it in. Yeah.
Yeah, among your, designing your mini games that you designed for me secretly. Yeah. So thank you, and thank you all for listening. And we will see you on the next episode of Positively Board Gaming.